Fuck. There we go. That's better. He's pointing at you.
Hi, this is David from Obscure Reference Games, and I've been kidnapped by Legends of Tabletop. Please send help.
There's no help for you.
Hey Dave, how's it going?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm not doing too bad today. So you're Dave, obviously, from Obscure Reference Games, and we'll have you on talk about your Kickstarter here a little bit. So, what is Obscure Reference Games? Let's start at the very beginning.
Okay, Obscure Reference Games is 5 guys that basically sat around their workplace. I wouldn't say ignoring the work that they were supposed to do, but we definitely made obscure references to each other all day, and thus the name.
Nice.
Yeah. We all really enjoy games, been playing games for a while, some of us a few centuries now, in the case of Christian, and I hope he's watching, and that's just kind of our thing, is we love games, so we decided, hey, let's make one.
Nice. So you guys like all official and incorporated and whatnot, or?
Yes, we are an LLC as of last February, so that's exciting. And you just reminded me I should probably pay this year's taxes at some point.
That would probably be a good thing.
Yeah, so they tell me at least.
Yeah, well. So all right, so a little about a year now, and so this is your first Kickstarter and your first game.
This is our first Kickstarter and our first game. You're absolutely right. Very excited to be bringing Overlords of Infamy to everyone. It's been my baby, I guess you could say, for almost 2 years now, and we've been dreading the start of the Kickstarter. Very excited about the start of the Kickstarter, and now that it's almost over, it's kind of surreal.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a whole nother animal to learn the ins and outs of Kickstarter. Did you have any prep? Did you talk to anybody that had run a Kickstarter prior to that to be like, hey, like, what do we do?
Sure did. Let's see. I would say the 2 most important things when it comes to running a Kickstarter is to read Jamie Stegmeier's Kickstarter Lessons blog, and James Matt's. Also, he's fantastic. He's got a lot of information. And I would say that the information is there if you need it. There's so many designers out there. And that's one of the things that I've learned and I now love about the designer community is everybody's willing to help everyone. They want to see everyone else succeed because they want to see great games on the market. And if you ask, they'll give you help. One of those guys was Patrick Leader, Leader Games. Yeah, he's a great guy, and I can't wait to have Trove in my hands. I played it with him, and I love it. That's what I was about to say. I got to play it on Tabletop Simulator. Fantastic.
Cool. Yeah. Is there a designer group by you specifically that you go with to, or?
No. It's all online. I find a lot of people. There's various Facebook groups for designers. There's a lot more than I expected.
You just dip your toe in the water and you find there's a whole other world there.
Yeah.
Cool, very cool. Let's see what we got here. So, did you have some butterflies? Were you a little nervous about getting the Kickstarter going? Were you afraid that people wouldn't respond since it's your first one?
That was my biggest fear. If you were to talk to the other guys in the group, I'm like, the 3 weeks prior to the Kickstarter, they would tell you how much I was freaking out. I'm like, okay, guys, so in the chance that this doesn't happen, in case nobody bids, I mean, we could always, go back to the starting board and, relaunch in a few months. And, when we saw those pledges roll in and we actually funded, in under 5 days, I was shocked. Oh yeah, it was like a huge weight off my shoulders. It's like everybody that we've been showing it to at conventions have come out and they've shown their support, and all my amazing friends, family, it is great. I mean, couldn't ask for anything better.
Cool. And how many conventions did you get to? How much time did you spend showing the game before you had the Kickstarter up and running?
We've been to 4 Strategicon events. That's in LA. So we did that starting last February, And then we also went to Origins last year, which was a ton of fun. We met a whole lot of people, both designers and players alike, and got to show off our game. That was pretty great.
Cool.
Yeah, and then we started doing it online, so I was able to get the game onto Tabletopia, which I think is a fantastic site and service, and been able to show demos that way.
Very cool. And it's just a demo. You get a little piece of the game to play with.
It's actually a fully playable game. It just doesn't have all of the cards in it, for example.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. That's the first time I had seen it. Doing a little bit of research for the show tonight. I saw that it was on there and got in and was like, "Oh, we're waiting for a table." And I'm like, "No, I don't have time to play a game right now. I don't want to meet other people right now."
I know meeting other people is really scary.
Yeah, it's not a lot of fun. That's why we do this.
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind the game? How did you come up with the concept for it?
Oh, I've got lots of different reasons for it, but the one that I tell most often is I had just gotten out of a relationship at the time, and my friends were trying to cheer me up, and a lot of them were like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about her, man. She was like totally evil. She was awful." And I'm like, "No, you know what? She really wasn't that evil." But that kind of got the idea in my head. That's like, wait a second. What if I made a game from the perspective of somebody who's evil, and it kind of blossomed from there.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the game then?
Sure. Overlords of Infamy, you take on the role of an evil overlord. Your goal is to make everyone as miserable as possible. And to do this, you're going to complete nefarious plots that range from things like, blanket the region in glitter, throttle internet speeds to 56K, abolish breakfast, that's another good one, divide by zero. Yeah.
And there has to be steal candy from babies, right?
That is actually probably the first card I ever came up with was steal candy from babies, followed closely by make everyone's socks slightly damp. Yeah, that's like the worst feeling.
It is.
It's not a lot of fun.
No.
Followed closely by damp underwear.
So
yeah, I didn't dig that deep.
Your next iteration.
You have all these different evil overlords. Is one of them my ex-wife or?
Probably. Is she a one-armed werewolf?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, maybe not then. All right.
Well,
all right.
A little larger.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I went there. I don't care.
I'm not touching that one.
Well, never mind. I'll stop now.
So you have a tile element aspect of it, and there's also a worker placement aspect of the game?
That's correct. It is a area control, tile placement, worker placement, resource management, quest completion. You throw it. I pretty much took every mechanic that I liked, and I threw it into one, and tried to see what worked and worked together and what stuck. Quite a bit of it actually ended up sticking. Although I will say that the game as it is today bears very little resemblance to the first prototype I ever made. And that is a fantastic thing.
All right. And it's a 1 to 4 player game, ages 8 and up. How long does it take to play?
Once you know the rules, because I'll be the first to admit that the rules look a little bit hefty. They're really not hard, but there's a lot of them. Once you know the rules, it's about 60 to 90 minutes. And yeah, most people, they say, oh, hey, let's play a round or two. And then by the end of their first round, they're like, okay, I completely get this. And they might have one or two other questions. And that's actually something that we learned during playtests and during conventions, is that having a turn reference sheet and a quick start guide were invaluable. So basically, I would stand there and I'd explain how to play while we're at the conventions, because nobody has time to sit down and read rules when you have other games to play. So I ended up writing the quick start guide, which is almost identical to what I would do when I would teach somebody at a convention. So it's like I'm standing over your shoulder telling you what to do, and it gets you right into the game.
That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever picked up a game that's had quick start rules unless it was an RPG. So it's interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I hope it helps.
That's the goal anyway, right?
Yeah.
No, I downloaded the rule book. It's 22 pages. The quick start guide's just 6, so that's a lot easier to read.
To be fair, the rule book is pretty intensive. It goes into every little bit. It also has a description of all the elements of the game. It has the backstories of each of the evil overlords, and it has a description of all the items and things that you can pick up. So that's a little bit of fluff there that you won't have in Quick Start. But I find people really like the backstory, so that's cool.
That's pretty cool. And you've got some good names on here. You know, it's kind of quirky and sort of, tongue-in-cheek. I'm trying to find something here. Duke Demon Hammer.
Yeah.
Looks like a little gnome with horns.
Well, we had basically, before we even named them, we were looking for an artist, and we had a concept artist come by, and he's like, oh yeah, let me just draw you up like 4 different styles, and you could tell me which one you like best. And we liked every single one that he gave us, and they all became different overlords. I mean, Frau Lumberwolf, Duke Damon Hammer, Comrade Borg, and Viltron, I think, were the first 4 that we had gotten, and they all look slightly different, and unfortunately that concept artist is not with the project anymore, but those images still are, and we kind of named them after the images that he gave us. So yeah, like Duke Demon Hammer, he looks like a demon holding a hammer. That's literally how he came up with his name, and it just stuck.
That works.
Yeah.
I think my favorite might have to be Waffles.
Waffles the Corgi is tremendously popular.
No, yeah, it's pretty cool.
We actually debuted him during the last convention we went to. That was OrcCon back in February, and I will say there was one game played all weekend where there wasn't a player playing Waffles.
Nice. Now, what's Waffles' deal?
Waffles is actually it's not a Kickstarter exclusive per se, but it is part of a promo pack. Okay. So that's available if you back it on Kickstarter. You get the Waffles promo pack. So everything that's included in that is going to have some extra cards in it. It has some designer-made cards. For example, I mentioned Patrick Leader earlier, J.R. Honeycutt, Chris Cieslik. They all gave us some ideas for cards. They're all in there. Probably going to have a few more by the time that we release, just as bonuses. And that's something that is available later, say at conventions, for an extra cost, but if you back it on Kickstarter, you get it now. How we came up with Waffles, we had one of our playtests at my house, and a friend was over. Hi, Michael, and if we all know him, he's kind of obsessed with 2 things. That would be cute baristas at Starbucks and corgis. So when he played the game for the first time, he's like, you know what your game needs? I'm like, are you going to say a corgi? He says, I'm going to say a corgi. And he says, name the corgi Waffles. And I looked at my partner, and we're like, we need to have a corgi named Waffles. That's amazing. So
name Waffles.
That's what it was. And basically that's how it came about. And after a little while, we actually learned there's a real Waffles the Corgi that is famous on Instagram and Facebook. So,
way to tie that in. I like it.
Yeah, we actually reached out to his owner, Rebecca, and she loved the idea. She's like, oh my god, you have to use this idea. It's fantastic. I'm like, thanks for the go-ahead. We're going to run with it, and Waffles was born.
Nice. Very cool. All right, I got to click back. I'm trying to find the flyer score real quick.
That's okay. Hockey's important. Hockey, right?
Yeah, it's hockey.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a baseball kind of guy myself.
Well, the Phillies are terrible, so there's no reason for me to follow that.
Yeah, go Twins.
Sorry. Ah, jeez. Well, whatever. You got to root for somebody, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times this podcast turns into sports talk. I don't know if anybody really
always bring it up, you bastard.
Well,
as long as we're not talking basketball, because I rate that somewhere above a root canal, but just barely.
The only time I ever really watched was when the Sixers made their run in like 2011.
Okay.
I don't even remember.
I think I tuned into like the last 2 minutes of the championship game, and that's all I really need.
Yeah, they were never going to win, but I mean, it was cool to see them there. But anyway, when I checked in with the Kickstarter this afternoon, you guys were sitting at 144% funding, 408 backers, and you guys have just 7 days left to get in on this deal.
Thank you. Oh, no applause, please.
The audience is rowdy.
I could tell. Yes, we got 7 days left. We're super excited. We actually have a deal going on right now. If we're able to get to 30,000 by tomorrow, knock on whatever this is in front of me, then we're going to throw in a 12th Overlord. I'm sorry, an 11th Overlord. Sorry, I misspoke there. We're actually just added in a 10th one. So it's funny that you say that you mentioned that, or maybe I mentioned it. Whatever. So. One of our original goals was that if we reached our funding goal within the first week, we would upgrade all of the resource pieces in the game to wooden pieces, which we totally did. Awesome. And the other part of that is we were going to allow the backers to suggest what a 10th Overlord for the game should be, and then we choose our top ones out of that, and everybody would get to vote on that. So we gave everybody about a week to give us their suggestions. We got something like 70 suggestions in, had to narrow that down to our 10 favorite, and we put that poll up, and then we had everybody vote on it. We got, hundreds of votes, and ended up selecting Tyranno de Bergerac, which is a exactly. It is a dinosaur with a top hat and a monocle, and he's posh and he's a gentleman, except he's hyper intelligent and super evil. So he's going to be added into the game, and we have our artist currently drawing him up right now. Hopefully, we'll have a sketch by the end of the Kickstarter campaign or shortly after. And the other goal that we have going on right now is to add in an 11th Overlord. So that's if we get 30,000 by tomorrow. Which I'm still hopeful. Then the Dead Pirate Rob Hearts is going to be added in, which, yes, is a play on The Princess Bride. So it is a zombie pirate that likes to eat hearts instead of brains.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and he's not named Wesley, so don't ask. What was that?
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable indeed. Actually, the Sicilian was one of the 10 overlords that people could vote for.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
His power would have involved something about land wars in Asia, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, of course. Never start
one of the best movies.
Oh, I love The Princess Bride.
But it's up there.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it's one of those movies where if it's on TV, no matter what point it is in the movie, you just stop and watch it.
Yeah. And it's so quotable, too. In fact, one of the world events in our game, I guess I should explain that. Every time that you collect a resource, you move forward the world tension tracker, which makes the adventuring hero start to come after you to murder your lackeys and liberate the tiles that you've rightfully exploited. In addition, when the world tension tracker reaches 10, you flip over a world event and then reset the tracker. And after you've gone through a certain number of world events, that's the timer. So the game is over after everybody gets one final turn. So, for example, in a 4-player game, you go through 10 world events. So to loop back to that, one of the world events is called You Killed My Father, Prepared to Die, which actually powers up the adventuring hero the next time that he would move. He gets to go further and kill more things. So, yeah.
And how often, wow, I go back and listen to these things, and they just sound terrible, and I have to edit the shit out of myself because I hate it. I can't complete a sentence or a thought. How often do you collect the resources? At the end of every turn, or
up to 3 times a turn. So you get 3 action points to spend every turn, and collecting a resource or recruiting a lackey costs 1 action point each turn. So if you have the tiles available to you and you happen to need those particular resources, you can start sending your lackeys out to each of those tiles and collecting the resources, and as I said, up to 3 times per turn. So it might move 3 spaces or whatnot. Then again, there's also some world events that would edit that. For example, one of them makes it so everybody gets 2 additional actions on their next turn. Another one makes it so that at the end of the next turn, move the world tension tracker up 5 spaces. So it's a lot of things. The game changes slightly, a little bit, every time that a world event comes out or every time that somebody completes one of the higher level plots. There's 3 levels of plots. There's knavery, which are basic annoyances, and they are essentially, that's like blanket the region and glitter, steal candy from babies, that kind of thing. Then you step up into the villainy plots, which are the intermediate plots. That's refill fire extinguishers with gasoline. Things like that, or shut down power at the dinosaur containment facility. That's another good one. Nothing ever goes wrong when that happens.
No.
And then you get to the domination level plots, which are the harder plots. That's things like blow up the moon, resurrect the old gods, raise an amphibious sea monster, those kind of things. So each level of plot, harder to complete, but they're worth more misery points. That's how you win the game. And starting with the villainy level and the domination level, there are game-changing effects. Like one of the villainy plots allows you to cancel out a world event as soon as it's pulled and choose a new one. So if you don't like the effect of it, you can take your chances. One of the domination plots, which is called Hatch an Armada of Dragons, actually removes the adventuring hero from the game entirely. So it could have game-changing effects. And then the world events change things too. So there's a core base of rules, and that pretty much always stays the same, but with slight changes that happen with world events.
Gotcha. Okay. I had a question. It just went away. I fucking hate that.
I'm sorry. I tend to talk a lot.
No, it's me because I'm old and I can't remember shit. Well, it might come back later. It might not. Yeah.
I'm loving the sound effects.
So we'll just go, jump back to the Kickstarter real quick here. So at $59, you can get the game with all unlocked stretch goals, which is not a terrible price. You guys have just a ton of stuff in the box.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got the box. It's going to come with wooden pieces for all the resources now. It comes with a set of 6 lackeys for each color. It comes with a special 6-sided die that only has 4 numbers on it. That comes into play later. It's got the map itself, which is actually double-sided. So one side is for 1 and 3 players. The other side is for 2 and 4 players. And actually, the 1 player was added in with this camp with our most recent stretch goal. So it wasn't always a 1 player, but that's now been made possible by our most recent stretch goal, which adds in another component called the Heroes Quests, which is a variant rule. You could add it in. It makes it so that the adventuring hero can collect resources from killing your lackeys and liberating your land, which allows him to complete plots that make things harder for the adventuring heroes, while you're also trying to complete your plots, basically. So that got added in as well. There are, in the base game, regardless of how much we've added in so far, 60 world events and 90 nefarious plots, which means if you were to take out, in a 4-player game, if you were to take out every single plot that you played and every single world event that you played, you can go through a minimum of 5 plays without repeating a single card.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, we wanted to have a lot of replayability. So there's that. What else comes with it? I guess that's about it. Yeah, and we're still trying to add things in. So
cool. The single player is nice, because obviously you want to, group of people play a board game. But if you're in a situation where you can't because of schedules, time, whatever it is, you can still get in and play by yourself, which maybe not quite as much fun, but it lets you scratch that itch to get in and actually play a game if you can't get anybody else to do it.
Right, and we're going to try to make it as fun as possible. We're still hammering out all of the rules to make sure that everything's balanced, but we're pretty happy with what we've got so far.
Cool. And I wrote down, furiously scribbling, I remember what I was going to ask you.
Yes!
The higher plots or the more difficult plots are going to require more resources to accomplish.
Yes.
Is that the gist? Yeah.
Correct. They also require what's called a relic. So as you're building your zone of influence, you start with your lair, and then you exploit map tiles, and you put those map tiles adjacent to your lair or other map tiles that you have, and you build out to the contested areas, which you share with your opponents, which will allow you to start doing espionage against each other. So that's an extra little bit of the game. A lot was more player interaction, but you also can connect to the Kingdom of Good in the very center. And if you do, you have the ability to use 2 action points to steal a relic. So there's 6 particular relics, and about half of the villainy plots and all of the domination plots will require a relic. So you could go in, steal one of those, and then only one person could have each relic at a time. So that's a little bit more strategy there.
Can you steal relics from other players?
You can during the espionage phase. So
Nice.
that is one of the espionage actions that you could do once your infamy level is at level 3. It's not easy to do, but it's definitely doable. And yeah. Oh, that's another thing. So Infamy, you start at Infamy level 1, and every time you complete a plot, regardless of the plot level, you increase your Infamy level. At Infamy's level 1 and 2, you could only choose a Knavery level plot, the basic ones, but at 3 and 4, you could start choosing Villainy or Knavery. At 5, you can choose Domination, Villainy, or Knavery. But it also affects which espionage actions that you're able to do. For example, at level 1, you can Glean Intel, which allows you to look at the plots of your opponent. Doesn't do much, but you get to see what they're working on. For example, you might be able to grab the relic that they're after so they can't get it. But at level 5, there's an action called Assassinate, which allows you to actually drop one of your lackeys on top of theirs in their zone of influence. It kills the lackey, and you get to capture that resource. So it increases. It scales, I guess.
Good deal. And you say you get 2 action points, but you can only use your healing surge once.
Healing? Oh gosh, was that
It's a 4E thing.
Okay, I was gonna say that sounds like I got Temple of Elemental Evil recently, the Dungeons and Dragons box game, actually, not the book, and it's got the healing surges in it, and I cut my teeth on 3.0 and 3.5, so I didn't really know what that was. I actually ended up playing, I guess, a couple of sessions of 4E and 5E later on. But yeah, I'm more of a Pathfinder guy right now.
That's all right. I played a little bit of 2nd edition, and when 4th came back out, Vince and I started up the campaign again, and I enjoy it. It gets a lot of knocks from people, but you know.
Well, I heard it's just that like campaign will take or combat will take an entire session, or can.
It can.
Can,
Yeah. Well,
Spend 5 hours of real time to
That's
play
unfortunate.
30 seconds of game time.
oh no. Yeah. I
you
love
can
combat.
finagle that.
But sure.
You can
I
ask
love doing
for-
combat, but I love role playing as well. So it's like if I'm GMing or DMing campaign, then I try to keep a pretty good balance of that. Speed up a fight if it's going too slow, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you'd like the Dragon Fisters game then. We played last night, and we played for, I guess, pushing 3 hours, and just about the whole session was RP. We rolled dice like a handful of times. We got a combat at the end, but it went like a couple of turns, and then we were like, all right, this isn't working. Let's try words.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. It's just something about the name Dragon Fisters. It just puts me off a little bit. I'm not sure what it is.
There's
Well,
something
try it. You'll like it. I forget what the original name was. Jesse told me. I don't recall. Fireside Geeks or something like that.
Dragon Fisters is a little more aggressive, and
It's got a little bit more punch.
there's movement in it. Yeah, exactly. So
No pun intended.
yeah,
Oh, God.
slightly pornographic.
Oh man.
The word fist in it can be, you can construe that any way you want.
Well, that's
Yeah,
true.
lots of fun there.
Oh yeah.
So
And
are
by the
you?
way,
Are you
it's not safe for work, so sorry.
yeah. Well, people should know that by now.
I'm not at work. I'm good.
So you're saying you're a Pathfinder guy? Are you playing any games right now?
I am. I'm in 2 campaigns right now. One of them we're trying to meet like once every 3 months or so. Another one we meet once a week. So that one's pretty good. But I would say that the 2 that I like the most right now. I love GMing. It's like my favorite thing. As much as I love playing in a campaign, I love building the world and guiding people down a story. So I have one that meets once about every month or so, and that one's fantastic. We play for like 8 or 9 hours each day, and I'm having fun with that. And then we have another one that hasn't met in a few months, and we play online because all of the people are out of state or mostly out of state, and that one's pretty good too. I play with some less experienced people in that one, so I'm kind of letting them have the run of things, and I'm just kind of keeping them in line a little bit, but they're having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely like messing with my players. One of my favorite things is one of the characters is currently seeing clones of himself everywhere. Doesn't know why. Haven't told him why yet, but I've got some ideas. At the end of their last session, one of the characters, it's called the Chin Scalper because he had some dealings with dwarves, and he ended up cutting off their beards because that became his thing. It was the ultimate insult to them, is cutting off their beards. And so the entire campaign, or not campaign, but the group rather, they decided that they were going to take on the Dwarven Merchants Guild and Stonemasons Association, and they basically fought their way through the entire thing. And Morgrim Birchbuckler was the name of his mortal enemy and the leader of the guild. And dude's in a gigantic bronze golem mech, and they were fighting him that way, and they ended up killing him and taking over the guild and setting up their presence there. I made them find the deck of many things, and then they all drew from it, which was fantastic.
I'm sure that didn't go very well.
You know what? They all drew red cards. I was like, wow, you know what? I got to hand it to you. You managed not to get trapped in a plane or a pocket plane for all of eternity, and didn't get immediately smited, I guess is the word. Yeah.
Smote, I think.
Smote? Okay. Yeah. Sure. Let's go with that one.
There you go.
But yeah, it's good stuff.
How do you find it to play? You said you have a game that you're in with some newer players. What's that experience like for you if you're running? Do you enjoy being able to introduce that to somebody who hasn't had the opportunity before, or is it kind of like, given my druthers, I'd rather have my my normal players because we can just hammer down and go?
I'll go the diplomatic route and say that I love both of them, but for different reasons. I like the group that is kind of focused and knows what they're doing at this point. But the online group, the newer players, I like them because they think of things that a seasoned player would never think about doing. For example, burning down a building because they disagreed with somebody for no reason whatsoever. It's just like, oh, let's just set this building on fire. Why are you setting the building on fire? You're in the middle of Magnamar. They're going to find you. And so what? Yeah, so I'm having some fun with that one. Another guy is a bard who is just... He has taken on knowledge of absolutely everything. That's his thing. He wants to be a know-it-all in-game, just like he is in real life. Hi, Dustin. And
damn.
So,
do you play with Vince's brother?
I was thinking that.
I don't know. Is his name Dustin too, or is he just a know-it-all?
Yeah.
John can
no
go
to
on
the first, yes to the second.
Oh, okay. No, it's a lot of fun, and I find it's bringing people into the hobby because that's one of the things that I love so much about board gaming and the board gaming community is everybody is so welcoming and they want to bring people into it, and I love doing that. So I see this as kind of a gateway drug, getting people into other board games.
You're an ambassador. Exactly.
Or a drug dealer, one of the two.
You're a drug dealing ambassador.
There you go. Does that give me diplomatic immunity? I'm not sure.
Well, it might. It depends on where you're at.
Okay. Columbia, definitely. But
exactly.
Yeah.
You suck them in. You give them the first game for free.
Yep.
They come back to me. When are we playing again? I know you need another hit, man. All right. It's.
Is it so? Your one game meets like once every couple of months. Is it hard to get back into character to kind of get into the story if you're away from it for so long?
For me, no. For them, I would say it's probably so. It's now been the longest that we've ever gone without playing. I think the last time we actually had a game was beginning of November. But then again, everything's been ramping up to the Kickstarter in February, and all my focus has gone to that, so it's all been a complete blur. We are hoping, now that we're getting towards the end of the Kickstarter, that we'll get some more time to play, maybe in April. In case you guys are watching, we're going to play in April, so plan around that.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I was running a game at home, and just with the craziness with the podcast and single dad thing and all that stuff, and we'd taken a little bit of a break because of schedules, and I was like, you know what, guys, I can't do this right now. I just don't have the time, because we weren't playing in a module. I was sandboxing it, so to sit and
that's the best. I love doing that. Like, modules are great, and they give you a great jumping off point, but I like world building. That's like my favorite thing to do, is making the world myself. I still use like the map of Galarian for Pathfinder, for example, but everything that happens in those areas is my own.
Yeah. And you're like you said, you prefer Pathfinder. You're more of a 3.5, 3.75 guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love D&D. Don't get me wrong, D&D is great. It's the godfather of all role playing, or grandfather, one of the two. And I learned how to play on 3.0, 3.5. So I will always have a soft spot for those. But in terms of going back and learning a new system like 4th edition or 5th edition, I realize that's probably got a lot of similarities, but I just don't have the time or patience to do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you played any other games, any other RPG games, or is pretty much just D&D?
Shadowrun.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I love Shadowrun.
Shadowrun's
I think it's fantastic. And actually, I would say that Shadowrun has my favorite setting of any role-playing game that I've ever seen. The first time that I saw the book, I can't remember which edition it was. It was a friend of mine. The beginning of the book actually had an entire timeline of what happened from 1989 up to the year like 22 something or whatever, and that was like fascinating for me, reading through that and just seeing the so-called history of what happened when Magic came back and all that. I love that.
That's the first edition rules that FASA put out, I think.
There you go. There you go. Now, I was very sad to see when Nostalgia led me to buy a copy of the core rulebook for Shadowrun recently.
The one that's like this thick.
Yeah, which is great, and I love it, and I want to run a game for it, but the timeline is gone. So as soon as I saw that, I ended up searching online, and I was able to find that original timeline, but it's also been updated with all the new things that have come out. I love it. It's such a great world.
It's good stuff, yeah. I ran a campaign for a couple years.
Are your players willing to switch games like that, or do you have to like coax them into it and be like, "Oh, come on, this is really cool. You got to try it."
Well, it's funny that you say that. We are coming to the end of one of the story arcs in the game that I'm playing in right now, not GMing. And one of my suggestions was that, hey, maybe we should try Shadowrun. Haven't done that yet. But at the end of that story arc, you do want to keep these characters and play them again. But I was going to switch to GMing and running a Mythic campaign, because we got the Mythic Adventures book for Pathfinder, which looks super epic, and everything is gigantic and super hard to fight. But then you've also got these massive swords and super powerful spells, and it's like, you know what, that would be a really fun, like, 3-off campaign or something like that. We'll meet 3 times and finish off one quick adventure, and I think that'd be a lot of fun in between our arcs. But maybe I'm thinking about leaning a little bit towards Shadowrun at this point.
Cool. Did you see Sandy Peterson's new Kickstarter for the Mythos and Pathfinder?
The Cthulhu Mythos?
Yeah.
Yes, I did, and I think I might alienate some people right now in saying that I'm not as huge into Cthulhu as a lot of people are. I definitely like it. Oh no! Oh no! I definitely like it. It's something that I'll play. For example, Eldritch Horror, love it. Just played a study in Emerald, love it, great. But it's like I don't need Cthulhu Pandemic. I don't need Cthulhu flavored bubblegum, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's
Monopoly.
There you go. Then again, I don't need Monopoly of any sort. So.
Oh, that's true.
That's yeah. I think it's really cool that they're bringing it to Pathfinder. That's probably not something that I will ever use unless I'm not the GM. But I just don't see myself working it into a campaign. If I'm playing in a campaign and it's there, sure, that sounds like fun. But I don't know that I would ever do it myself. We do have a Cthulhu card in Kickstarter in our game though. It's Resurrect the Old Gods, and I know that one of the descriptions for I think it's Azathoth or something like that is crawling nuclear chaos, or they always say that they're completely indescribable or something like that. So the flavor text for the Resurrect the Old Gods card says, I guess it looks like a walking octopus. It was describable after all. Something along those lines. But yeah, so I mean, we do have a little bit of the Cthulhu in there. But again, we're obscure reference game, so all over the game we have tons of obscure references. I mean, we have a double rainbow on the board somewhere. But yeah, in the Kickstarter campaign, we used a banana for scale. Shout out to Reddit people.
I've noticed that image along the. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I couldn't get enough of the banana for scale. I actually have a friend who. For whatever reason, he ran into Tom Hanks in a bar somewhere, and happened to have a banana in his car. Went out to his car, got the banana, went up to Tom Hanks and said,
Will
"Hey,
you sign this?
Can I have a picture with you?" And he hands him the banana. He says, "Just hold this," and he did. And it's actually online somewhere. I'm gonna find it for you.
Oh my God!
That's awesome.
Hold this banana, and I'm
I
happy.
think that Mace or something like that. Know your meme, and I think it's like the first image in there. Or one of them, but yeah, it's fantastic. It's somewhere. I just think it was hilarious because it's like, hey, I know that guy. Oh, here it is. I found the picture. I'm gonna put in the link in the window. I'm not sure if everybody can see it or not, but here you go.
No, you could screen share, and then whoever watches this will be able to see it.
Oh no, I don't trust I don't trust you guys to see my computer.
That's pretty funny because Tom Hanks looks completely perplexed as to why he's holding a banana.
Exactly. Isn't that wonderful?
That's great. I can imagine the memes that went around with that one.
Yeah, right.
Well, as my friend tells the story, is he actually explained the meme to Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks cracked up at it and says, "Yeah, let's take that picture."
And of course, of course, the tip of the banana is on this dude's chin, so there's all kinds of stuff there.
There you go.
I'll put a link in the show notes, so this will make sense when people listen later.
Scale.
Yeah.
Banana for scale, banana on the chin.
That's funny. Did you? Again, here we go. Have you ever read Lovecraft? Are you into the literature at all, or you're just not interested?
I am about to pick it up. Because I played both Eldritch Horror and Study in Emerald recently, and it was my first time for both of them. And like I said, I really loved them, so it actually got me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go find the literature. I'm gonna try to read some of it when I have time. And I really haven't had much time this month, but I am going to as soon as I can.
Well, if you get into the literature, if you like the weird fiction, we'll give a shout out to Mike Davis of the Lovecraft e-zine. They have a lot. He has a lot of Lovecraftian weird fiction authors and stuff on his show. Friend of the show, so you might want to check them out.
Yeah, sure. I'll give it a look.
Cool. I guess we'll put that in the show notes too. Let me write a note. Show notes. Okay, great. All right. Well, let's see here. So you've been working on the game for a couple of years. With the advent of crowdfunding, in the last 5 years or so, 8 years or so, did that push you ahead to be like, hey, this is something we can totally do it because we can, go the route of Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever?
Yes. Short answer, yes. So I've been gaming in one form or another for pretty much my entire life, but for most of it, it was video games, and then for like about 8 years I was playing Final Fantasy XI, which was an MMO RPG, so I did that for a while. but I transitioned almost entirely over to board games when a friend of mine, Hi Juan, decided to invite me over to his house and show me what the beauty of board games was. So I still play some video games, but for I would say about 4.5, 5 years now, I've been really getting into more and more board games. My collection is somewhere nearing 350 games now.
Wow.
Yeah, my wallet doesn't like me. I'm pretty sure some people would question my life choices, and that's okay. Hey, at least I'm not doing drugs or shooting something into my veins or whatnot. But I guess the plastic or cardboard crack, I think they call it. It's very true. So there's just something about a new board game. I think I just got a few of them in the mail today. Actually, it's sitting in a box back there. So yeah, I love board games, and I got into Kickstarter really quickly and really hard. Yeah, I would say that when I learned about it, like, oh, this is really cool. I'm helping somebody achieve their dream, and I get something out of it at the end. It wouldn't exist otherwise, and that became, I wouldn't say an addiction, but it was an addiction. And I think between my two accounts, so my personal Kickstarter account and now our company account, I've backed over 200 games.
Yeah, I see on Obscure Reference Games you've got 103 backed.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, the designer community, we got to stick together. So especially since I started looking towards Kickstarter to make my game, I started looking more and more at other indie designers. And if they've got a product that I believe in, by all means, I'm going to back it. And I also have been in a unique position now that I'm running my own Kickstarter. I have another way of spreading the word about these other games, and that's in some of my updates I'm able to actually put links and descriptions about games that I'm backing, games that I believe in, and let the people who are backing my game know about it.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool.
Which I think is great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very cool interface because you can interact directly with the developers, ask questions, and in some cases, like you say, you're still putting some tweaks on the game, so people can have input to the actual product that they're going to get, which is really neat.
Yeah, and I think again that's another thing about the board gaming community is inclusion, and I think that getting as many people to give their suggestions about what we should have in Overlords of Infamy is definitely going to make the game better. I know that without all of the feedback and suggestions that we've had from people at conventions, at our play tests, the game would not be what it is today. So many of my friends that have played with me, they're like, no, you should do this, or you should remove this, or, for example, you should add Waffles the Corgi. So many things like that. Yeah. And the game is much better for it. Like, I'm not afraid to admit that while I might have some grandiose ideas that I think are absolutely fantastic, they turn out to be complete crap, and I need somebody who's not me to point that out. And once they do, the game is now better. And one of the things that we've gotten feedback about is the artwork on the game. And we love the artwork. We love who we went with for the artwork. We're now on our 7th and 8th artists, I believe. And we're very happy with the team that we have now. We've got Doug Scott doing most of the board artwork, and we have Jackie Nguye who did all the character artwork, and we love that. But the artwork on the board has been going through a redesign. It's almost finished, and we're going to completely overhaul the graphic design of the cards, of the parts of the board, and of the Overlord playmats, because we've gotten feedback, hey guys, I think that needs a little bit of work. And you know what, we're going to listen to that. If you think it needs work, then we're going to go back and rework it. And I could agree with them, too. So the artwork, or we say that the artwork is not final. A lot of it is pretty close to final, but some of it still needs work. And then again, we're also going to continue playtesting the new things that we add into the game while we're getting ready to get everything out to the manufacturer. That's another thing, is we have another criticism that we had from people is that the date that we have for shipping the game, we put spring of 2017. People are like, oh wow, a year, that's way too long. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, but I would much rather overestimate the shipping date and get it to you guys early than underestimate it and have you guys wondering why you're waiting so long for the game. I remember last year they had the shipping strikes at the ports. They had the holidays, the Chinese holidays, which shut down factories for a little while. So a lot of games that didn't plan for it or they didn't think about it. How can you plan for a strike? Games got late, but in the eyes of the people that are backing it, they just say, "Where's my games?" They don't say, "I don't want to hear your excuses." That you know what I mean? So I'd rather underpromise and overdeliver if I can, but we're aiming to get the game out to people as soon as possible.
Well, and you've got a lot of moving parts there. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in the box, so giving it a little extra lead time definitely is a good plan.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, people offering criticism and feedback, constructive criticism. When you live it and breathe it and sleep it, sometimes you become somewhat inured to problems that may exist, or you just need a new fresh set of eyes to point out, like, hey, that looks a little wonky, or I'm unclear of this rule. And you're like, no, you just do this thing, and you're like, yeah, but no, I didn't design it. I don't get it. Like, what do you mean?
Yep. We actually found out that we completely left a set of rules out of the rule book, and that was fun. Another thing is we had a very glaring typo on our latest prototype copies, which we didn't even notice until we ended up taking it to a convention, and the very first person that sat down said, "Hey, is this spelled right?" No, it's not. Thanks for pointing that out. Appreciate that.
Fire the proofreader.
So it's things like that. Okay, well, I guess I'm out of a job then.
So I noticed on the Kickstarter then as well, you have a reward level for a dragon sheath. We had the guys from Dogmite on the other day, and the boxes that they have there for you look awesome, like all their other stuff.
Yeah, we're really excited about that. We don't have a particular reward level for it, but we just say, hey, if you add this much money onto your pledge, then you get the dragon sheath. And the cool thing about it is there's nowhere else you can get it. So we really don't want to do exclusives as much as possible because we don't want anyone to feel left out. But with the dragon sheath, we are only allowing the sale of them until about a week before we ship out the games. And at that point, that's when the dragon sheaths are going to be made by Dogmite. And one of the things we're doing is actually engraving the number that dragon sheath is out of however many that there actually are at that point. So there's only going to be a certain number ever made, and if you end up getting one, then you actually get to have one of those limited editions.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's I was going to say that's $80 plus shipping to add the dragon sheath to your reward.
Right. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say the default color stain is red and black, but if you ask nicely, Dogmite can do stain. Wow, that looks wonky. Dogmite can do stain your sheath in a different color.
Oh God.
Proofreader.
Thanks for pointing out that. Okay, so that's another thing that I gotta go check out. Yeah, they can do stains, is what it's supposed to say, in a color that you prefer, and I think I put a link to their website. But I'll go face that now.
I think they have about 8 different stains on the Kickstarter that just ended. So.
Yeah, they just ended and they did fantastic. I think they got something like 5,000% of their goal.
Yeah, they did really well. But it's high quality, just really nice gaming aids. And the guys are good too. They do sustainable logging, or they work with people to do sustainable logging and stuff. So, environmentally conscious and all that.
Yeah. We met them at Origins last year. We were very fortunate to do so because they're awesome guys. And They made a dice box for me that I've been using since then that I love, and they actually sent me a copy of the Dragon Sheet specific for Overlords of Infamy, and it looks wonderful. So like you can fit all of the wooden resource pieces in there, or your lackeys and the adventuring hero and your dice, or you can use it for whatever you want. But the cool thing is it's got the name Overlords of Infamy on it, and it's also got the wooden etched waffles on it. So you got
that's great.
You got in there, yeah. So we're pretty excited about that, and we've already had a really positive response with the Dragon Sheath. Several people have already upped their pledges to include the Dragon Sheath, and we're hoping that something that we can do at the end is have that available as an add-on if we end up going with a pledge manager, which is still up in the air at the moment. But yeah, that's what we got going on. And your cat's tail totally looks like Cthulhu's tentacle right now.
This is the asshole cat. He's out running around.
So that's all cats, right?
Well, I guess that's probably true in some manner of speaking, but this one's really bad.
There's a special place for that cat.
Yeah.
I've got a puppy named Bob who's asleep on my bed right there. Oh yeah, you heard me say his name. There he is. So he just looked at me. Bob, best dog ever. Yeah, that's Bob.
He looks
Bob
super excited.
Yep, he likes to sit at the window, and we're on the second floor, and he makes sure to protect my room by barking at anybody that walks by.
There you go.
Makes sense.
Just to get a ladder and try to break in.
Exactly. You never know. Somebody could be scaling the building at this moment, and I wouldn't know it.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. An Overlord of Infamy.
There you go.
Yeah, if the evil corgi comes after you, Bob will protect you.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Bob's not a corgi. Actually, that's the most common question I get is, so do you have a corgi at home? Nope, I've got a terrier at home, and his name is Bob. Would you like to meet him?
You need to put a cape on him with a big bang.
If you watch our Kickstarter intro video, he's actually in it, so you can say hi to him.
Everybody loves dogs. That's a big help.
Yeah, I think the exact line I said in the video is that we believe so strongly in our product that we don't have to pander to you by showing cute furry animals, and then it cuts to me petting Bob in slow motion.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well played.
Thank you. Yeah, it's, I mean, well, I'll pander if it gets you more pledges. Please pledge.
Long live Bob.
Do you guys have any other games that you currently have in the wings? Any ideas? Any upcoming projects for when this finally finishes up?
We do. I'll tell you some of our ideas. None of them have really gone past the concept page yet, or concept stage, rather. Yeah. When I told people I'd be on the show, I said, hey, come watch me make a mockery of the English language. And so far I'm living up to it. So that's great.
You're in good company.
Yeah.
So we do have a few other games. One that I'm planning right now. I don't have a name for it, but you might have heard earlier. I've played MMO RPGs for quite a while, or I did rather, and I led a guild per se. I don't know. Have you guys ever played MMOs?
No, not it's.
Not
it's
with
the devil's work.
Yeah.
I never. I was like, I don't want to get sucked into all that.
Well, the idea behind this game is that you are a guild leader, so you run a bunch of other players to go complete things in the video game, and you try to become the greatest guild in the game by collecting the most loot and things like that. So it's a card drafting / deck building game, and in this game, the cards that you're recruiting are actually players, and those players are online at certain times of day. And each round, a new event is going to come out, but that event happens at a certain time, and you can only use the players in your hands who are online at that time. And like you might be able to call somebody who's not online to come online, but they get pissed off at you because they were sleeping or they were at school, so they might leave your guild or something along those lines. So that's one of the ideas I have. Another one is you're trying to break. I call it "Can You Dig It," which is totally a pun, because it's a game that's divided between allocating resources to putting on an impromptu jazz show in the middle of the street to cover up the noise of people breaking into a bank by digging underneath the bank and into it.
Nice.
So yeah, that's another idea I have. We have one more about trying to get a message out of an insane asylum as you're slowly going insane. Like, it's not that you don't belong in there, you totally do, but you're trying to get a message out before you've completely lost your mind.
Very
Got a few things like that. Well, yeah. I think one of our other guys wants to do a game about the singularity, so becoming part of machines. It's the point. If you listen to Kurzweil, I think it's Ray G. Kurzweil. If you listen to what he says in 2040 or somewhere around there, man has to merge with machine, or else they'll be left behind by machines. So it's an interesting concept, and that's kind of what he's thinking about. And it's a deduction game where you don't know who's actually a machine or not. Yeah. So a few other things like that. Like I said, none of them have gotten past the planning stages. They may never see the light of day. They might not even get to the prototype stage, but we do have some ideas for a follow-up. And then, of course, we have an expansion plan for Overlords of Infamy. I'm calling it Misery Loves Company. What do you think?
Nice. That's good. I like that.
All right. Okay.
Cool. I don't have anything else prepared, but we do have our final five. Vince, do you have anything you have left unanswered?
No, that satisfied me as a viewer / interviewer. So that was good. I like it.
You're fulfilled?
I'm totally fulfilled, sir.
I did good.
That's good. I was running out of words, I think.
All right. Well, we do have the final five. It's a series of 5 geeky questions.
Do it.
And we'll roll right into it. So, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Yes.
Good answer.
All right. You won't choose.
Do I have to pick one?
You don't have to.
No, not at all.
Both is an acceptable answer.
Mm-hmm.
I like both, but if you held a gun to my head and made me choose, I would go with Star Wars.
Cool. What did you like the new movie or no?
Yes, I liked Force Awakens.
It wasn't just Star Wars?
It was pretty much a new hope, but at the same time, I don't think that's a terrible thing because you're getting a new generation into it and you're bringing back the old generation. I think it's a really good setup for what's to come.
I hope so. Anything is better than Phantom Menace and those other movies. So.
What movies?
The Phantom Menace.
I don't understand.
That's probably good. Never mind.
Thank you.
Just shut up, John.
All right, whatever.
Sometimes a little too dry. Maybe that would be.
Well, yeah, it took me a second.
All right.
So, tabletop or video games?
Yes. Okay, so I will say.
You're refusing to play the game.
I will say tabletop for now, just because I do that more often than I do video games these days. However, I still love video games, and I will play them when I can. For example, I just recently, like as in within the last few days, while sitting and watching the Kickstarter, ended up playing Chrono Trigger all the way through again. So can't get enough of that game. It's one of my favorites.
Cool. DC or Marvel?
Marvel. Come on, ask me a real question.
I know, right? Yeah.
Well, you know, DC's got
DC's doing a little bit better these days, but I can't stand Superman. I'm sorry, Superman is the worst. What was that?
Fuck you, Superman.
Right? It's like there is no tension whatsoever for me when I watch Superman because they've made him completely unbeatable. I think in All-Star Superman they had him bench pressing the same weight as the Earth nonstop for 27 days and he had just barely broken a sweat. I'm like, where's the tension there? It's like, okay, we're going to threaten your friends. All right, we'll kill off the friends. What now? Nothing.
Yep.
I'm sorry. It's just Superman is boring. That and I'm Batmaned out at the moment. I think the Batman trilogy did a fine job, and I think Christian Bale did a fine job, and I even think Ben Affleck is going to do a fine job. Call me weird. I think he looks good.
The latest trailer is pretty badass.
It is, and I got to say the latest trailer actually made me a believer. I went out, I bought my advance ticket after I saw that trailer. And my friends are all going to go, and I'm going to go, and I'm probably going to enjoy it because there are definitely certain things about DC that I really like. Controversially, I like the various colored lanterns. I know that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, green and yellow, that's all you need. No, I really like the War of Light stuff. I like the different emotional spectrum, as they call it, even though it's not really emotions that they're talking about. And I think they did a good job with that. The Flash, they're doing a good job. The TV show is fantastic. I'll give them that. I watched all of Arrow, even though it wasn't really Arrow. And yeah, I mean, I won't. Everyone says I should watch Gotham. I can't be bothered.
Did you like Daredevil?
I loved Daredevil.
Wasn't that great? Yeah.
And it's coming back this Friday. I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's gonna have
John,
Punisher
you
in
gotta
it.
watch Daredevil, you fuck.
You really do.
I'm not that much of a superhero guy, really.
That's
It's
okay.
not a superhero.
It's
come
just
on.
a good show.
It really is. It's worth
Yeah.
it. It's totally worth it for Kingpin.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Vincent D'Onofrio did a fantastic job.
Well, It was just you almost felt sorry for him in parts.
I did feel sorry for him in parts, and that's how you, when they make you sympathetic towards the villain, that's how you know that they're telling a great story and they have a fantastic author. I'm sorry, fantastic actor. And that's actually one of the things that I love, and I guess this probably led into what I did with my game, is I love villains in stories, and I love learning more about villains and what made them become the villains. One of the things that I love about Darth Vader, for example, is he always refers to his enemies by their titles. He gives them the respect that they deserve. It's Captain Solo. It's Commander Skywalker. It's not referring to them as, oh, throw Skywalker in the brig or anything like that. It's none of that kind of stuff. So I like Agent Smith from The Matrix. He shows respect even though he hates the guy. So I mean, it's that kind of thing. I like dynamic characters, and villains quite often are more dynamic than the heroes.
Cool. Sci-fi or fantasy?
Come on, man. These are tough questions. I gotta go with sci-fi, but by a very, very slim margin.
Preference in one medium over the other, like more of a sci-fi movie fan and more of a fantasy role player, or?
Actually, yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. Although we were talking about Shadowrun earlier, and I love that, the role playing. So, and then again, I also love fantasy movies. Lord of the Rings, even though it was 3 movies about walking, fantastic movie still. And I never enjoyed playing World of Warcraft, but I am looking forward to the Warcraft movie. It looks really good. It looks really good. Did you see the latest trailer?
I haven't, no.
Okay, I suggest watching the trailer for the Warcraft movie. If it doesn't make you a believer, then I don't know what to say. But I mean, hey, you're entitled to your preference, even if it's wrong.
Well, thank you for that. I hesitate with things like that because it's like, okay, it's a video game. We're gonna make a movie, like the Battleship movie, based on a crappy board game, for lack of a better term. It's like, no, it's a dumb movie. Like
Battleship is awful. You're absolutely right. But then again, they also have had some gems. I gotta say, the Max Payne movie I didn't think was completely awful. I think they did a fine job with it for what they had, their limited budget and that kind of thing. And I think that video game movies or TV shows, other media for video games, outside of video games, I think has come a long way. It's not Super Mario Brothers with Dennis Hopper anymore.
Yeah,
that's for
fair.
Sure. Yeah. For example, there was. Say again, please.
That was the first dramatized video game.
Yeah.
Paved the way.
It did. I'm surprised we haven't seen a Sonic movie yet or anything like that, or never got a Sonic movie. That'd be interesting. But I don't know if you guys have seen the most recent Street Fighter videos that were put out, and I'm pretty sure they were done by fans, but it's a live action Street Fighter. You can find it on YouTube. It was really cool, really well done. It's about Ken, Ryu, and Akuma. And then there was a live action Mortal Kombat that was done by people several years ago, and it used some big name actors in it, and it was good enough that it actually got WB to put out a series about Mortal Kombat, a web series. So I thought that was really cool too. So yeah, I would say that the mediums are blending. Where were we? How did we get to this topic?
Well, we're just meandering.
I find fantasy.
Yeah. Oh, sci-fi and fantasy. Okay, yeah. So I like them both. I would say sci-fi by a narrow margin. There's your answer.
All right. And the last one is, if you had one superpower, what would it be?
Oh man, the power to give myself more superpowers. Um,
No.
okay. If we're going if we're going in terms of or if we're going in terms of vanity, I would say flying, because I think the ability to fly would be amazing. Albeit not practical. I'd need to wear a suit if I was going high enough, because I'd freeze to death and there'd not be enough oxygen. That would suck. And if I'm going in terms of combat, some kind of healing factor, I would say. Hi Deadpool, one of my favorites. And if I was going just completely bonkers, I'd be Superman. Why not?
But would you hate yourself as Superman?
Probably. I would probably hate myself a little bit more every day. Like every time that the sun's rays actually hit me, power me up, it makes me hate myself more. So, emo man or something like that.
Sounds legit. Did you go see the Deadpool movie?
I did see the Deadpool movie. I might have seen it 3 times.
Oh, okay. You're all in.
I kind of loved it, yes. It was hilarious. Did you see it?
I didn't know.
I would recommend it. Did you see it?
No, not yet. Maybe this week.
Yeah. I highly suggest it. It's been a long time since I've laughed that hard, and it's very true to the comics. I'm not sure how into the comics you are or not, but he breaks the fourth wall. He doesn't take himself seriously. He makes fun of himself and the viewers a lot. I think he references himself playing Green Lantern in the movie.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. He says, just please don't make the super suit green or animated. I think it's fantastic. Green Lantern was terrible. And then somebody mentions Professor Xavier, and he says, Patrick Stewart or James McAvoy? And what? Yeah, so I thought that was pretty great. But yes, go see Deadpool. And I'm looking forward to Civil War like crazy.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like my kind of movie. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all I have. And if that's all Vince has, I think we're probably pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, guys. I mean,
we appreciate you coming on.
I mean, thanks for kidnapping me and now letting me go. I hope, right?
Yes, you and Bob, you can go. You and Bob can go now.
All right, cancel that 911 call.
Yeah, everybody should go to Obscure Reference Games and go check out the site there, and head to the Kickstarter and search in there for Overlords of Infamy. You've got 7 days left as of today, the 15th. So go check that out. There you go.
Thanks so much.
Fanfare and everything. So you could find us always at legendsoftabletop.com. You can reach out to us, give us any feedback, comments, questions, concerns, criticisms over at legendsoftabletop@gmail.com. Of course,
leave a review, goddammit.
Yeah, somebody leave a review. That would be cool.
Fuck.
We'll give you a shout out on the podcast.
I'll leave a review. I really liked your guest. Hosts, not so much. No.
Hey, I'll take it. Throw 5 stars on it. I'll take it.
You bet it.
All right, so thanks everybody for checking it out, and go check out the Kickstarter, and we'll catch you next time.